What's going on, y'all? Good to see you. Glad you could join me today. Today we want to talk about something serious. So let's get into it, right? Let's have a seat. Everyone please have a seat, sit down. Today we're going to be talking about some of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to having dreadlocks. Now, there are quite a few, and I know that they differ depending on who you ask, so we will kind of get into that. But for those who are unaware, my name is Joseph Morrison, aka Kojo Locs. This is a Loc channel where I discuss Loc content. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to subscribe, smash the like button, share the channel with a friend. It really helps with my YouTube algorithm and just getting the word out there in terms of dreadlocks and dreadlock content. So yes, getting into the misconceptions. There are a lot. So first, let's reach out. Let's see what people think. Sir, please, what do you think about dreadlocks? Can you let us know?
Oh, me? Well, I think dreadlocks are highly offensive and very unprofessional. I would never hire someone who has dreadlocks because, well, they just tell me that you're lazy and you don't have good work ethic. So, thank you for asking, please.
What's the matter with you?
Okay. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, so thank you for that. Anybody else? Ma'am, what do you think about dreadlocks? What's your perception of dreadlocks? Oh my god, me? Well, I don't know, they kind of look cool, but they look like they're really dirty. I just feel like anyone that has dreadlocks, like there's no way that you're like taking care of it. Like, isn't that how you get them? You just like let them be dirty and they just become like this gross, I don't know, I just think they're kind of gross. Like they just look really dirty. Unlike my hair, it's so gorgeous. It's actually the same color as your shirt.
Loser!
Thanks for asking. Okay, well, thank you for that opinion. Yeah, I guess my shirt is a very similar color to your hair, which is, I think, very beautiful. So, all right, anyone else? What do you think about dreadlocks? You have an opinion on dreadlocks?
Who, me? Oh yeah, I think dreadlocks are pretty cool, man. Like, I guess the only thing I think is weird is like when you see white people with them.
What?
You know? Or like, or just anybody else other than, I just feel like it's only for black people. I don't get when like, white people, anybody really, to be honest, other than black people have them. I just think that's kind of weird. I feel like you're just like trying to like steal like black people's thunder, you know? But I think they're cool, man. I think they're cool. Yeah, thanks for asking, bro. You know?
Okay, only for black people. Okay, cool. Well, you know what? This is the beauty of it all, right? Like, we're all entitled to our opinions. We're all entitled to having our own thoughts and the way that we perceive things. But I guess one of the reasons why I'm making this video, and it can actually go for a lot of other topics, is really just a lot of times our perceptions hold us back from really seeing what the truth is about the individual that you have the perception about, right? So you might think something of someone and they're not like that at all, or they don't behave that way at all. I just think we're in a day and age now where people kind of have their base of opinion on somebody based on something they see or what they're wearing or what their hairstyle's like, and they write them off for that reason. And you see that a lot with dreadlocks, right? I hear that a lot with dreadlocks, and I just wanted to touch on those things. And I'm glad you were all able to share a little bit of what you think, and we'll touch on those specific topics actually. You guys kind of hit it on the head. So first, let's look into the professionalism thing. Now, that's an interesting one. The notion that they're not professional is interesting because when you think about being in a profession, right? Essentially, you're in that role or you're working in that business in order to further and benefit the business, whether that be the bottom line, whether that be the business growth, all the above, whatever the case may be. Now, in order to achieve those goals, you have to work hard in that business. You have to do the things necessary to really make that business thrive. And I just don't get at what point a hairstyle really impacts that. Now, some people might say, they might hear me say that and say, well, if you have that hairstyle, you look ridiculous. And that's an opinion. But at the same time, we can't let those opinions dictate how well a business is doing or dictate how well somebody works or what someone's work ethic is like. And honestly, this goes for any hairstyle. Another one could be like a super spiky mohawk, right? Where someone would say, oh, well, that's a distracting hairstyle in a professional setting. It's like, well, it's just the person expressing themselves in the way that they want to. They're wearing a hairstyle that they like, just like a shirt or a watch or a pair of glasses or whatever the case may be. I personally don't see anything wrong with that. Now, just to debunk this whole notion that dreadlocks are unprofessional, I could go down the list and list off some of the most accomplished people, whether it be in sport, whether it be in politics, whether it be in business, whether it be in any aspect that you would consider to be a respectable or a credible level of success. And
you know, you would be like, oh wow, yeah, I guess that person is credible, or I guess that person does deserve the accolades they have. And I guess my bottom line to it all, really, with the whole professionalism thing is, at what point did we decide what hairstyles are okay for this profession or that profession? And who decided this? And why did we give them the right to make those decisions just because I want to express myself with this hairstyle? And you know what? I'm going to take it a step further. And let's just call a spade a spade. Let's be honest. A lot of times when you see somebody who does think dreadlocks are unprofessional or they're gross or whatever the case may be, they have a negative connotation of that hairstyle. A lot of times it comes from a culturally insensitive place. It comes from a place of racism. I'm not saying every time, but a lot of times we see that, right? Where you might see somebody with a hoodie on, an all black hoodie, and they might be wearing it up, and immediately you feel afraid of them because you think they might be a thug. Or you see somebody with dreadlocks and immediately you think they're a weed smoking, no good to do person who has no self-respect and just carries themselves in some kind of lawless way. And I'm speaking of these things based off of the perceptions of the world, right? And I think it's silly that we have those perceptions. And I think in today's age is probably one of the first times in human history where there is a spotlight on a lot of these things, and we're able to have a platform to show the world, whether you have dreadlocks, whether you have a mohawk, whether you wear your clothes a certain way, whether you think a certain way, that just because I wear my clothes that way or I wear my hair that way doesn't mean I am what you think I am. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think we're definitely come a long way in that respect. But yeah, ultimately I think, you know, my advice to people who think that dreadlocks are unprofessional is it's a hairstyle. And it really shouldn't speak to my character and speak to the work ethic that I'm gonna bring to this career or this job. That's kind of the bottom line as far as that goes. So yeah, and you know, I'll probably do a whole other video about that, highlighting actually some people that have dreadlocks. So that'll be coming down the road. The next thing I wanted to touch on, or I should say the next thing that this young lady touched on, was that they're dirty. Now that's an interesting one. I appreciate your opinion on that, but I would say that I disagree, humbly. And the reason I would disagree is just from personal experience, and I'll say this. So before having dreadlocks, I had many different hairstyles. I've had low cut, I've had like a fro, I've had afro, I've tried cornrows, I've done a bunch of different things, and I'll say that those hairstyles were all very low maintenance, and dreadlocks eventually becomes low maintenance, especially in that beginner stage, which I technically am in now at 7 months locked. There's so many things that you have to think about with your hair, like the essential oils that you're using for your hair, your washing routines, what kinds of washing you're doing to your hair. You have to be very gentle with your wash. You have to wear a do-rag to bed to keep your hair protected from lint, from unraveling. So basically, I feel like in the starter lock stage especially, at all times you're having to take into consideration the health of your hair, how dirty your hair is, what nutrients you're putting in your hair. It even goes as far as making you have to take care of yourself a little bit better if you're currently not. You gotta be drinking more water. You gotta make sure that you're taking in the right nutrients in your diet. There's so much that goes into it. So I just think it's interesting that people look at a set of dreadlocks and, you know, it looks like a nappier style, or it's a very, it looks like a very unkept style. It has that look to it from the outside looking in, for those that don't know. And I think naturally they just think like, oh, you just kind of walk around, you don't do anything in your hair, and it just knots up like that, and that's how you get dreadlocks. And there is a free-form journey where people let their hair grow the way it wants to grow, but they still wash their hair. And that's one thing that I think is interesting that people don't understand. It's like, if I don't wash my hair, as somebody that has dreads, I'm gonna do damage to my scalp. My scalp's gonna get extremely dirty. Therefore, my hair's gonna be growing in a dirty environment. And that 100% of the time leads to you losing locks, leads to thinning locks, and leads to locks that are just not healthy and not sustainable. And don't get me wrong, you do see people that have that, but it's very evident when you look at their locks. Their locks just don't look healthy. Their locks look like they're thin, they're brittle. You feel like if you just tug at it, it'll fall off. So really and truly, I think that's an insane opinion. But I guess I would just say that it's an opinion that's not based in education and not based in understanding. And that's fine, but I would say educate yourself. Or if you know someone that has locks, ask them about it instead of just kind of pegging them to be some kind of a dirty person or whatnot. And I get it. I know a lot of times too, you'll see people that have locks and their style is a lot more of a hipster style, as people would say, or a style that's a little bit more casual, right? In the way that they dress, maybe in the way that they carry themselves and the foods that they eat.
But at the end of the day, those are their life choices. And even in those choices, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just this person deciding to live a certain way. And that's a beautiful thing too. There are also people that have locks that are very high maintenance people that have to have everything prim and proper, have to have the best of everything, have to have the most lavish version of everything. I guess the point that I'm making is, we can't just put locks in this one category of being dirty and not broaden our horizons and really see that there are lockers of all shapes and sizes and come from all walks of life. And that's the beautiful thing about locks. And I actually love it to see that it's evolved to the point where it's more accepted by everybody, and that's the way it should be, just like any other hairstyle, just like any other form of clothing, just like anything else on the planet. So yeah, locks definitely are not a dirty thing, especially for people who have manicured locks like myself, or most people you probably know. Yeah, a lot goes into taking care of your scalp, taking care of your hair, more so than any other hairstyle that I've ever had. So yeah, I have to say that's a big misconception. That's just not true, unfortunately. Now the last one I'm going to touch on is more of a controversial one. A lot of African American people, a lot of black people do have this opinion. I'm not going to say all, but a lot of people do have it. And that's what this gentleman brought up, which was that locks are only for black people. And I think this comes from a few places. I think number one, for black people having to deal with, or having dealt with, having to still deal with, to be honest, a lot of the racial issues that are in society, a lot of systemic racism that's gone on from the beginning of time. We feel, or a lot of black people feel, that we've been stripped of our culture, we've been stripped of a lot of the things that we own, whether it be land, whether it be our culture, like I said, and just the essence of kind of who we are in a lot of ways. And one being locks. Dreadlocks is a hairstyle that was derived from African American culture, but a lot of other cultures also had locks from the beginning of time. A lot of Indian cultures, a lot of Celtic cultures, Vikings, those are all cultures that did have dreadlocks, and maybe they didn't call them dreadlocks. Some of them had matted hair, some of them had tangled hair, as they would call it. And eventually I'm going to do a whole video talking about the different cultural starts for dreadlocks and things like that, and even talking about traditionally where dreadlocks actually started or came from. Going back to what I was saying, I should say, is I just think black people kind of feel that dreadlocks is one of the only things we have left. I think a lot of us do have that opinion, and I understand it. I would say in a past time, I also kind of had that opinion. When I would see somebody of another culture with locks, I would feel a sense of like, what's this person doing? Like, okay, you think you're us now? I'm gonna be honest. But then as I educated myself and as I grew to understand the history of locks, it made me understand a little bit more like, okay, like locks did come from a lot of different cultures. And even that aside, honestly, it's a hairstyle, right? We're in the 21st century, and there are a lot of cultural reasons why people wear locks. Rastafarians, for example, who wear locks because they believe it, brings them closer to Jah or closer to God. A lot of Indian cultures do still wear locks for their own reasons as well. But it's like most people that you see walking around with locks just like the hairstyle. So what's wrong with that? It's just like anything else. You can say it for music, you can say it for foods, you can say it for so many different things that we as a globe take part in, right? Does that mean that I can't eat pizza now because I'm not Italian, right? No, we love pizza. Does it mean that I can't wear a kimono because I'm not Japanese? No, I wear it because I think it's awesome and I appreciate that culture. Well, I mean, I don't wear kimonos, but I'm just saying, if I wanted to, why not, right? It's like we live in this world where we are all accepting of each other's cultures, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So why is dreadlocks any different? And I guess I'm kind of saying that more to African Americans and black people. Like, we need to understand that if people want to rock locks, let them rock locks. And most of the time it's because they appreciate the hairstyle or just like it, and they appreciate the culture that it comes from. Now, just like anything else, there are going to be people out there who aren't African American, for example, and wear locks and they think they're African American or whatever the case may be. But that's with anything else in life. So we can't focus on the people who kind of have ill intentions, and that's not even just with locks, that's with anything. That's somebody might like rap music a lot and think, oh, I'm so black because I like rap music. It's like, okay, well, no, but you like rap music and that's fine too, right? So ultimately, I'm just saying, it really isn't just for black people. And it is for anybody who just wants to rock their hairstyle. There's no harm, there's no foul. And I just think for anyone who takes offense to someone wearing locks that they don't think deserves to wear them, it's not really up to you. It's not your place to make that decision. And I think it's just important to respect each other in our decisions. Whether we want to wear a certain type of outfit, or wear a certain type of hairstyle, or eat a certain type of food, listen to a certain type of music, we are now in a melting pot. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It allows us to appreciate each other's cultures. It allows us to know that we're accepted by others. And it allows to break up this whole idea of segregation. And I think people who think locks are only for a certain type of person or a certain culture, in a way, honestly, you're kind of feeding into segregation, and that's something that we're fighting to work against, right? So yeah, ultimately, I think dreadlocks are a beautiful hairstyle. I think that at the same time, although it does have cultural meanings and there are a lot of cultural things that you can take from it, as I do, there is also the flip side of that too, where it's just a hairstyle, man. Like, and if you're somebody who just wants to rock it because you think it looks cool, great. If you're somebody who wants to rock it because you think it has a deeper cultural meaning and you're using it for spiritual purposes and you have that, I guess you can say, a higher reason for wearing your locks, great. Point being, for whatever reason you want to wear them and for wherever you want to wear them. And, you know, really considering the decisions you might have to make based on having your locks. There are going to be places where you want to wear them where they might not like them. Well, maybe that's just somewhere you don't need to be. Or certain jobs that might still look at it as unprofessional. Well, maybe that's just not a job that you need to have. Or if you feel like you don't care enough about your locks to go work at that job, all right, cool, cut them off and enjoy your job. So it's just really putting into perspective why you have locks, what you think of your locks, and how important they are to you. Nothing else around that matters. So there's so many misconceptions about locks, about clothing, food, all kinds of things. And ultimately all I'm saying here today is that the reason why you have what you have is because you want it. So rock it and be proud of it. And don't worry about what the world thinks or what anybody else thinks. As long as you love what you have, prosper on, my brother or my sister. Prosper on, all right? All right. So I will be touching on these topics a little bit more in depth in other videos. I think these are all things that can use a little bit more time and a little bit more education that I want to share with you all. But for now, I just wanted to kind of debunk those misconceptions and yeah, man, rock your locks, dude, rock your locks, all right? They're beautiful, gotta love them. And that's all I got for you guys today. So if you enjoyed that content, please feel free to subscribe, like, and share the video. I'd really appreciate that. More videos to come. Every week I'm dropping a new video, so stay tuned. And for now, Kojo Locs signing out. Peace and love.